Hey everyone, welcome to today's show. You heard it right, today we're diving into the story of a headless statue. Yes, you heard me right. Maya wondered why the headless statue had gooey liquid on its neck. When Arthur pulled off the cloth, he unleashed a 50-year-old curse. It turned out that this seemingly ordinary Arthur was actually the chosen one prophesied to break the seal, and Ivana's revenge story was about to kick off. Everything was silently cycling back. After they turned to leave, the autumn sky suddenly thundered with lightning, and amidst the rain, they didn't notice the shrill sound of a woman. Arthur stubbornly brought back an old wooden box that contained nothing of value, just an old record and some yellowed photographs. But an old diary caught the interest of a senior citizen, containing a portrait of Ivana from her living days. At that moment, Grandma Annie rushed to warn them not to touch other people's stuff, but this remark instantly angered another grandma. Immediately, the two grandmas erupted into a fierce argument, as if their hostility towards each other was just getting started. At this point, Arthur played the old record he found in the box, and this dull Dutch dance tune made everyone want to faint. Everyone danced to the music, immersed in thunder. Grandma Annie was nervous, like being chased by ghosts. Suddenly, a blackout shattered the party's vibe. Did you know that an old folks' home rarely experiences power cuts, especially on this special Eid night? So EVERYONE Cheshire IQ circumflex micro or turned to their rooms. Little brother finally mustered courage to tell his sister the creepy, well paired with Dutch dance music felt ghostly. The entire nursing home exuded an eerie aura. But who would take a child's instincts seriously? Sure enough, at the stroke of midnight, another bizarre event occurred. Maya was abruptly awoken by strange arguing and hurried to investigate. Initially, she thought someone was throwing a party in the living room, but her poor eyesight coupled with curiosity led her to fumble her way to the room. Strangely enough, the intercom carried on with heated arguing and even included some pitiful wails. Suddenly, the pitch-black room lit up. Even more bizarrely, Maya's vision suddenly cleared, revealing an injured man on the floor. She noticed that the two men seemed completely oblivious to their cries, and just as they struggled to escape, several people burst into the room from behind. Little brother pulled her hand, and in an instant, Maya's sight and the lights were back to normal, yet she remained utterly puzzled by the previous experience. Little brother insisted he saw nothing, so they went back to sleep. However, odd occurrences continued. The record player started during the power outage. The door opened for no reason, as if an invisible force was freely lingering about, with Grandma Annie being the first target. Like Maya, Grandma Annie was startled by the intercom, hearing the unsettling Dutch dance tune. This tune had already unsettled her at the dance party. Now it triggered her deepest fear-filled memories. Grandma Annie mustered courage and entered the living room, finding the record player moving. After turning it off, she left unaware of the blackout. How could the record player possibly play by itself? But when it started up again, she was taken aback. She hurriedly turned to switch it off, but didn't notice a ghostly figure behind her. At first, she thought it was a caregiver waking up early to cook, but called out several times with no response. As she stepped into the viewing room, something suddenly fell from the shelf. She had no idea that the bitter fruit she planted 50 years ago was about to drop. While bending down to pick up the shattered pieces, a pair of pitch-black feet appeared before her. When Grandma Annie looked up to see the figure's face, she was instantly struck with terror. She hurriedly fled back, but was gripped by black hands. Turns out, Grandma Annie was the girl who had first pushed Ivana into the limelight. After a night filled with storms, only Maya heard the strange noise from the intercom. Talk about a disturbance. This bizarre phenomenon puzzled her, and worse, the headless statue from the basement mysteriously appeared in the living room. Even though Arthur and the staff scoffed at the notion that they were responsible, everyone thought it was just the others. They didn't pay much attention and left the statue there. However, Maya felt an eerie sense of dread. While the old man was piecing things together from the diary, it turned out the Dutch woman Maya saw in her vision was Ivana. After her eye surgery, she could see invisible things. Yet they still hadn't realized that Grandma Annie was missing until they tried to take a group photo and noticed her absence. Only Maya felt a strong sense of unease, sensing something was about to go down. At first, everyone thought Grandma Annie just hadn't woken up. With heightened perception, she intuitively walked into the hallway, seeing a shocking pool of dark red blood, making her hair stand on end. Trembling, she pushed open the door, stumbled, and fell, hit by a horrible stench. With blurry vision, Maya could only feel her way around, and what she touched left her shocked. Grandma Annie's body lay there, her head completely gone. This horrifying scene left everyone speechless, and Arthur was frantically trying to get Grandma out of there. However, The caregiver immediately locked the door. After all, a headless murder had occurred, and everyone was a suspect. Since the police were on their way, leaving would make things even sketchier. Just as Arthur was anxiously pacing, she suddenly discovered something even scarier. The headless statue that was on the chair had vanished. This bizarre scene made Arthur tremble with fear. Yet the caregiver insisted this was just a prank, and Mai finally couldn't hold back sharing what happened the night before, saying she not only heard the Dutch song over the intercom but also saw the woman herself, yet nobody at the scene was willing to believe her. Yet at that moment, the arrival of the police didn't solve the mystery, but instead added to the confusion. Initially, the police thought it was just an elderly person who had died from a sudden illness, but when he lifted the covering cloth, he ended up vomiting uncontrollably. This horrifying scene needed more police. Turning, he saw a headless figure in the mirror. He was sure it wasn't just his imagination, but when he got out to check, the area was completely deserted. At this moment, the old man inside was reading Ivona's diary and noticed he had an unusual connection with a Japanese officer named Matsuno, but no one connected these bizarre events with Ivona. The police suspected the figure in the mirror was the murderer, but strangely, all external communication devices were mysteriously down. Even more chilling, little brother discovered that the headless statue had mysteriously reappeared, just as the power cut out again.